It's mailbag time, and I am Tom Downey for the Dallas Cowboys Report here as always. All the questions coming in from our live audience, so make sure you guys are subbed if you want to get on the show. Again, youtube.com/CowboysTV. All right, one of several super chats here from DeLunatic. $8 million a year, is that a realistic number for Randy Gregory? I think you got to go higher. Look, he is capable of putting up fairly big sack numbers. Now, he wasn't as good down the stretch. I think that will hurt him. Only 6 sacks this year. So maybe if you're lucky you get him from 8, I would suspect that it's going to be a little bit higher, given the premium teams want to pay for pass rushers. From Brett, did LVE get a new contract with play on Sunday? I thought down the stretch, last month-ish, he played a lot better than what he was early on in the year. That's a really good sign for LVE. Somebody's going to give him a deal. I still don't want to pay him big-time money. I don't trust him that much in coverage. That's a big deal for me. But given his injury history, if you can get him for a cheaper one-year deal, I got no issues at that point bringing him back. From Knicks fans, do you think there is any chance of Jim Harbaugh? I would still be a little surprised if Harbaugh makes the jump to the NFL. If he does, I would wonder if a team like the Raiders or Bears are a more likely destination for him. Harbaugh and Jerry would either work incredibly well or not at all. And I think it'd be not at all maybe. So I don't know if Harbaugh would want to go to Dallas. Maybe he wants to go back to the Bay Area or go to the West Side, I should say, the West Coast-ish, with Vegas kind of being West Coast in terms of if he makes a jump back to the NFL. Legendary Motorsports. If we can, should we go get Derek Stingley from LSU? I don't want to. The only way you go get him is if he slides significantly, which means you probably don't want him in that case. He should be a top 10 pick, and you've got too many needs to justify moving up from 24 to 10 and sacrificing all that draft capital. Ecuador Man AOG says, slap hater Jeremy. Doing $50 super chat today to slap you, or do you need a break? Yeah, $2 is cheap. So $50, I'll slap him and slap Jeremy, and I'll let him slap me as well. Jerry Jones says, NFC East champions, baby. Go get the merchandise from our online store. Jerry, I appreciate the ad. Also, make me owner. I'll do a better job. And I guarantee championships. I promise I won't become a greedy miser myself. From JOP, exclamation point, a $2 super chat. Who would be your number one replacement for, I assume by Mac you mean Mike McCarthy. Be a full video for you guys, and it's a long list of guys that I think you should consider because I want a real head coaching search. From Marvin Pactel, if Dan Quinn leaves, who is the best DC available to replace him? I think internally your best guy is probably Joe Witt, who did call the plays briefly earlier this year. By the way, this video already available on the channel, by the way. Beyond that, I think you would look at Vic Fangio as the top external candidate at DC. From Angry Dallas Fan, trade Dak. I mean, I knew we were going to get several of these questions throughout today's show. The answer is no. He's still a good quarterback. He's got to play better down the stretch. Make no mistake about that. Did not play well enough for what you need as the entire offense kind of just everything struggled in the final couple months of the season. Here's why you can't do it, though, why it's a non-starter. If you trade Dak Prescott before the NFL draft, you incur an extra $23.35 million cap hit. Can't do it. Like that's no. That's a complete non-starter for any organization. If you trade him after the draft, you save a little bit, but then you are still paying him $40 million on next year's salary cap. He's your quarterback, and you need him to bounce back. And in the same way that the Cardinals need Kyler Murray to bounce back, in the same way that the Seahawks need ideal and prime Russell Wilson, you need your quarterback, regardless of how much they're paid, to play well. And I do think Dak will play well moving forward. We've seen a very large sample size of Dak Prescott being a top 10 caliber quarterback. I do trust Dak Prescott to bounce back. Now, I'll leave it up to you guys here in the comments. You can complain about Dak if you want. I'm not going to block anybody. It's fine. We're all frustrated with how the year went down. Vent if you need to. I get it. Do you trust Dak? I do. And I want to hear from you guys in the comments as well. Do you trust Dak Prescott as your quarterback? Y for yes or N for no. Bossman Fat says, trade Zeke for pocket change. I feel like this is the first of like 18 Zeke trade questions we're going to end up getting here. Yeah, don't get your hopes up. The contract for Zeke doesn't really make it work very well. The way that deal is structured, it's not indicative of one that's going to be ideal for a trade and certainly not for a release either. From Will Marshall, more can go. Jerry won't promote Quinn. He's too strong-minded. I actually don't know if that's the case. More, I mean, if he's back, he's got to be so much better, right? Like that. I think he was at least a big reason why the offense struggled down the stretch. I don't like if Quinn was there as your DC. So it's not like Jerry doesn't want a strong-minded guy. He hired Bill Parcells, for goodness sake. So I don't think strong-minded is a barrier for Jerry. Is Jerry operating and making the right moves that we need him to make. If Pollard is not the number one RB next season, something is off. Sick of holding him back. I would be inclined to agree with that. Look, Zeke's probably going to be here. It can be a 1A, 1B. You got to give Pollard more reps. He's too explosive, too dynamic to not do so. From Brett Alstain, not about the team. Just want to say I've been a fan of the show for a while, and to see the growth of the show is incredible. Keep up the good work. All right, thank you, Brett. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Yeah, okay, thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate you chiming in, too. Thanks, Brett. It's very kind of you, and I appreciate the super chat as well. Today's show is powered by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you guys see right there on screen. That is Cowboys125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus when you put down $100. I went 3-3 on my picks for the NFL wildcard round. The Raiders killed me. Thanks, Dallas. And Arizona was even worse. Here are my picks this week. First time all year, I'm picking an under. Bengals, Titans, I think low-scoring game, under 47. Packers -6 against the Niners. Bucks -3 against the Rams. Chiefs -2.5 against the Bills. And we'll see if I look great like I did earlier this year or suck down the stretch once again. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Cowboys125. All things Phillies. Google defines the 5 stages of anger. Is it 5 stages of depression? I think we're a little bit off here, but denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Of grief. It's 5 stages of grief. That's what it is. I'm still stuck on denial from Sunday's game. Where are you? I got over denial pretty quickly. The anger was immediate. I didn't have much bargaining to do. I guess I'm either in the depression stage or in the acceptance stage, and I don't know which probably means I'm in the depression stage still. From Nightmare DC for Life, how about keeping Jayron Kearse, Connor Williams? I assume that's what you mean. Well, do you mean Connor Williams or Cedrick Wilson? I'm going to go with Cedrick Wilson and DA Dorance Armstrong. I would love to keep Kearse. I think he's going to be a bit expensive. Got to find a way to make it work. Cedrick Wilson, at the right cost. Same with Dorance Armstrong. I think Armstrong is worth roughly the Terrell Basham contract, which is reliable depth. I think that's what he is. He's not someone I want starting, but if he's my edge 4 or 3, okay, I can live with that. I thought Armstrong, by a massive margin, had his best year ever. The Lunatic, O-line coach Joe Philbin, fire or keep? If you can bring in somebody better, why would I stop you from firing Joe Philbin? You did the weird shuffle along the offensive line midseason, which did not work out. Even though Connor Williams played badly in his final game of the year, he was still your best left guard all season. Your right tackle seemed to regress this year. Your center got a little better, not that much better. Even Zach Martin and Tyron Smith got a little bit worse this year. So if you want to bring in somebody else, sure. I'm not going to complain at that point. I got no issues there. I want you guys now to subscribe for the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's draft news, trade rumors, live shows, and so much more. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe today. From South Texas, RG didn't produce enough to be paid this year. 6 sacks, Micah doubled that output. Yeah, but Micah Parsons was a defensive player of the year frontrunner. Like, of course, Micah Parsons is not really your great comparison there. Gregory got a ton of pressures, drew a ton of holds. He wasn't good enough down the stretch, but he's going to get paid. Like, that's going to be the reality in the offseason for the Cowboys. Giddy Gang says Dak is only trustworthy against bad teams. So I'll mention this here. Going into this year, in the time that the Cowboys have had Dak Prescott, the teams that have had a better winning percentage than Dak against opposing teams, which is, I think it's a bad way to go about it in the record. But the Patriots, right, you had Brady, right? Tennessee has won a bunch of games. They won a bunch more this year. Kansas City, New Orleans, Seattle, Ravens, Eagles, and large part of that Super Bowl win, Rams and Cowboys. And the point I want to make here, 4 teams are above 500. That is the situation for everybody across the NFL. This is not the Browns, the Lions, or even the Bucks entering this year with Brady have not been that great because they weren't great before that. So you want Dak to play better against better teams. That's an entire team thing for Dallas. I totally agree. But Dak's beaten plenty of good teams before. From Alec Trebek. Can Dallas trade Zeke? Can, technically, yes. Will they? I would not get your hopes up, folks. The money doesn't bear it out very well. You release him before June 1st, you eat an additional almost $12 million. So you ain't cutting Zeke, guys. Even post June 1st, you save nothing, although they're with Jalen. So probably not, but hey, maybe it's possible at some level. A trade doesn't save you anything before the draft. After the draft, it does save you some money, but you're also banking here on a team taking on that contract. And I think people who want to trade Zeke, and I get where you're coming from, I understand it. You want to trade Zeke because you don't think he's good anymore. But if that's the case, why would a team take him on? You're banking on the other team being what we would consider stupid. Now, what I would do is maybe you model the Saints offense, for example. Tony Pollard's your Alvin Kamara, Zeke Elliott's your Mark Ingram. Use them both, but still let Tony Pollard be your guy. So who's going to be RB1 next year? EE for Ezekiel Elliott, TP for Tony Pollard. From Brett Alstain, can we bring back Mark Colombo? He was so much better. He's out there. He and Joe Judge did not get along. Maybe that wasn't a Mark Colombo issue. So if you want to bring back Colombo and fire Joe Philbin, I've got no complaints here. Although we do run into the issue of, okay, who's dictating that role? Is it Mike McCarthy or is it Jerry? Because we simultaneously don't want Jerry involved unless it's to do the things we want. And that's fair. That's how we always operate. I'm just acknowledging that there's the coaching staff side of it. From the decision maker, you have to acknowledge. John G., best kicker prospects. Whichever one you want to sign an undrafted free agency or take in round 7. I don't know. I think Cade York had a good year. The Oklahoma kid had a good year. Gabe Rizik, whatever his last name is. They're kickers. Bring in competition. That's what I always want. I also want to quickly shout out here Grade A Vids. Just a $5 super chat, no question. Thank you very much for that one. Joe Ramirez, the refs have their own 2-minute hurry up. Ref ends. I don't know what ends is there. Like positioning themselves closer to the ball, etc. Look, ref ran over Dak. You probably should have had more time on that play, or had Dak Prescott slide down earlier, have the center hand the ball to the ref like he's supposed to do. In the end, the ref, I think you argue made a mistake. It's not why you lost. It's not. The previous 59 minutes and 50 seconds are why you lost that game. From Joe, you think Dak was not 100%? I don't know if it was the injury. Maybe it'll come out later on that it was. But when Dak came back, the offense across the board got worse. The offensive line did a way worse job of protecting Prescott. The ground game, which already shown signs of having issues, collapsed. The receivers were running the wrong route sometimes. The play calling from Kellen Moore really started to struggle. So, and even against a good team against the Patriots, they were playing well on offense. The penalties continue to be a major problem. So Dak might not have been 100%. It was good enough to play, to show the ability we know he had. He did miss some throws he doesn't normally make. But I don't think it was just Dak's issue. I think there were a lot of issues, and why it's so concerning from a coaching staff perspective for the way that entire situation went down. We had some trade questions earlier. So name a player who you want to trade away. Any name you want. There's only like a couple you can't financially trade, so drop one for me in the comments. Chris Snow, has Amari Cooper lost passion for the game? I don't think so. Cooper has always been a very lower-key personality, which is why I thought him speaking out to the media is kind of a big deal. He's not your crazy, hyped diva wide receiver. He's much more of the low-key, mellow type of guy in the end. So I don't think that's the case in the end. Grade A Vids, put Zeke at fullback. He can get the little yards for us. They did give Zeke some fullback plays, and you're making him the short yardage, end zone back. They did that too. I don't mind reducing some of his carries. You can't make him a full-time fullback, though, because it's just not a great route to go. You don't ever want to look at the money, I get that, but you can't be paying a fullback $14 million. That's an obscene figure to try to pay somebody. So utilize him at a fullback at points. Yes, they've done that before. Not full-time, though. Giddy Gang, more trying to make Dak like Mahomes. He's not that. He's not Mahomes. I think every person ever would agree with that. I actually don't think he's trying to make him Mahomes, though. I think, if anything, they didn't allow Dak to push it downfield enough. Howard Floyd, super chat as well. I think we have a good football team, seem to be so unfocused in key games. Undisciplined as well. And frankly, that was a season across the board. Like, there were a lot of those situations for the Dallas Cowboys. They were not a disciplined football team. So I get where you're coming from. I think in the end that stems from the head coaching situation.